Imagine you're parked with someone special, enjoying a quiet moment. Suddenly, a car pulls up opposite you, headlights off, just sitting there in the dark. For Michael Mageau and Darlene, this unsettling scene became a nightmare on July 4th, 1969. The driver of the other car sat motionless for what felt like hours. Then, just as the tension began to ease, the car did a U-turn and drove off. A sigh of relief. But it was short-lived. A few minutes later, the same car returned. This time, a figure got out, brandishing a bright torch. Thinking it was a police officer, the couple rolled down their window. That was their fatal mistake. The stranger walked towards them and, without a word, opened fire. Michael was hit in the arm. Darlene was also struck. Michael, in a desperate attempt to escape, reached for the door handle, but it was gone, mysteriously removed. As if the horror wasn't enough, the attacker returned, fired at them again, and then vanished into the night, leaving the couple in a state of utter distress. A person nearby heard the commotion and called the police, but by the time they arrived, the scene was cold. No trace, no evidence, no clues. 3 teenagers stumbled upon the horrific scene and rushed to help. Darlene was rushed to Kaiser Foundation Hospital, but tragically, she wouldn't survive. Michael Mageau, however, lived to tell the tale. He described the attacker as a heavy-set white man, about 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighing around 200 pounds, with a large, broad face and short, curly light brown hair. But a description alone wasn't enough. Just minutes after the attack, the Vallejo Police Department received a chilling phone call. A man's voice, calm and detached, said, "I want to report a crime. If you go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to the public park, you will find victims in a brown car. They were both attacked. I also ended those victims last year. Goodbye." The caller was referring to another unsolved case from the previous year. This was the moment the Zodiac killer announced himself to the world, and San Francisco was gripped by fear. It was no longer a safe haven. On July 31st, 1969, the terror escalated. The Zodiac began sending letters to newspapers, flaunting his crimes, mocking the police, and believing himself to be intellectually superior. Between 1969 and 1974, he sent at least 4 letters, demanding they be published on the front page. If they weren't, he promised to go on a rampage and claim more victims. Each letter came with a cryptogram, a complex puzzle of encrypted code, a direct challenge to the authorities to uncover his identity. The game had begun. Fast forward to September 27th, 1969. It's a beautiful afternoon at Lake Berryessa in Napa County. 2 college students, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, are having a picnic on a small island. At around 4 p.m., Cecilia noticed a man watching them from the trees. He was wearing a strange, executioner-style black hood with clip-on sunglasses, clearly hiding his identity. Perhaps because the police now had a basic description of him. The hooded man approached them, holding a gun. He told them a bizarre story about escaping from jail after attacking a guard and needing their car and money to flee to Mexico. He had them tie each other up with pre-cut lengths of clothesline he provided. Brian, thinking it was just a strange robbery, tried to keep the situation calm, but the Zodiac's intentions were far more sinister. After they were bound, he pulled out a long knife. He viciously attacked him, stabbing Cecilia 10 times and Brian 6 times before walking away as calmly as he had arrived. He then walked back to his car, which was parked on Knoxville Road. On the side of Brian's car, he used a black marker to draw his now infamous cross-circle symbol and wrote the dates of his attacks. Soon after, a man and his son, who were fishing nearby, discovered the horrific scene and alerted park rangers. When law enforcement arrived, Cecilia, despite her grievous wounds, was still conscious. She provided a detailed description of the attacker and the events that had just unfolded. Both she and Brian were rushed to the hospital. Tragically, Cecilia slipped into a coma during transit and passed away 2 days later without ever waking up. Brian Hartnell, however, survived. He would later recount the entire terrifying ordeal to the press and the public, providing invaluable details about the killer's demeanor and costume. The investigation intensified. Multiple witnesses reported seeing a suspicious man in the area that day. A local dentist even claimed he might have made eye contact with the man, who then fled in a hurry. Another woman believed she may have seen the killer without his hood. She worked with a police artist and a photographer named Robert Mackenzie, who used a new device called an identikit to create a composite sketch based on witness descriptions. This sketch depicted a man around 6 feet tall, weighing about 200 pounds, with glasses. Brian Hartnell also described the chilling executioners, who the Zodiac wore. Then, at 7:40 p.m., that same evening, the Napa County Sheriff's Department received another phone call. It was I wish to report a murder, the voice said. No, a double murder. He confessed to the Lake Berryessa attack and told the dispatcher where to find the car. Police traced the call to a payphone in downtown Napa. When they arrived, the receiver was still dangling off the hook. They even found a palm print, but the quality was too poor to be of any use. The Zodiac was clearly enjoying himself, toying with the police, treating his horrific actions as some kind of elaborate, deadly game. He craved the attention, the fear, and the chaos he created. He remained a ghost, a symbol of terror that haunted Northern California for years, leaving a trail of death, puzzles, and a mystery that continues to fascinate and horrify us to this day. The question of his true identity remains one of America's greatest unsolved cases. Thank you for watching, and if you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into historical mysteries.